Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Already into it.
Yes.
Never gotten such a long email from somebody. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to respond now, but I'll do it later.
Very good.
Again, this is Trayvon Martin. Well, this isn't Trayvon Martin. This is Chris Potter. Speaking of Trayvon Martin, so there's a noon rally.
There is. Madai shall be there.
And it is where?
At the county courthouse here in downtown Pittsburgh on Grant Street.
Okay.
Are you properly hydrated now?
Yeah. And I just want to say, there's part of me that, so what? I've seen all the, I'm demonstrated out. They never seem to really, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So why is there this one again today when the one, why?
Yeah, this is I was here the day before yesterday and, talking about the sort of unusual circumstances. Yeah, and part of the backdrop of that was here were people who were sitting in the middle of Center Avenue. And I think it would be fair to say, in part, because they just didn't know what the hell else to do. And part of the reason they didn't know what else to do is these damn demonstrations don't really seem to change anything.
No.
And so there's a really... I actually heard somebody say, when they were talking about these are the tactics that Martin Luther King used, and an older member of the assembly said, we're no better off now than we were back in the 1960s, which I don't think is true.
That's not true.
But there is I do think it kind of communicated a sense of despair there.
And despair.
Yeah.
Right.
And, clearly since the 1960s, obviously a lot of things have changed for the better, but we also had the war on drugs, and we now imprison a higher percentage of our people, especially African-American people, than any other country, industrialized country in the world, and even more than most of the unindustrialized ones. So you could see where people are a little...
Well, I guess what I was saying, and I wearily was thinking is coming up the elevator and then coming in here, and there was this, I realized it was a sort of like weariness. And because I was thinking about Trayvon Martin and everything we had been discussing, and I thought, I'm so sick of having this same conversation.
Right.
My entire working life, over 30 years.
Yeah.
It just, the characters change, but it's all the same. Americans talking about their racial problem.
Right.
Nothing changes.
Yeah.
Because you cannot, what was that great quote from Dr. King? A law cannot change a man's heart.
Right. Yeah,
but
not sure I entirely agree with that.
It can stop him from lynching me.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change a man's heart. It's the hearts that don't change, Chris.
I'm not sure I totally agree with that.
Generationally, it might get a bit better, but...
I'm not sure I think to the extent that laws change the way that we act in society and the way our actions towards each other inform each other's beliefs and things like that, I think over the course of time. Yeah, law doesn't obviously instantaneously when the Supreme Court handed down Brown versus Board of Education, it's not like the next week everybody was like, yeah, you know what, that whole segregation thing was BS.
No,
we see that
there's a whole bunch of people
today.
that haven't moved since then.
Yeah, that's true. But I think I do think that there are attitudes now that are different as a result of that case. Again, over the course of history.
But it is true. You cannot legislate a man's heart.
Yeah. And in a way, we shouldn't want to. right? I mean, that would be creepy.
Well, but legislation mostly is to control behavior, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay, you might think this, you might feel like doing this, but it's against the law.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I don't care, for example, if my landlord cares, approves of my, lifestyle choices or my sexual orientation or anything about me.
Right.
I just want him to rent the damn property and fix the toilet. You know what I mean?
Right.
What he thinks about me when he's in his kitchen, I don't really care about. Right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. Just changing the behavior would be a step in the right direction. We'll worry about the rest of it down the road.
And so we were talking, you and I were talking, you came in very nicely on Monday to talk a little bit about this. And then yesterday my sister was on and we were still talking about it. And it was so depressing. I realized afterwards that I just, it's just... That's why I'm depressed. I said, what? So what? What's going to happen at the county courthouse on Grant Street at noon?
I don't know.
Now, I understand I think there's a need for people who feel strongly to vent because that happens at a rally. Mm-hmm. But as for changing anything, it doesn't. And I always have been bemused by the usual suspects throughout my tenure in Pittsburgh. Any demonstration, anti-war, anti-this, Trayvon Martin, Johnny Gamage, there is this core of white folks. I'm going to say the white folks who show up. Mm-hmm. And I think they're just totally comfortable in that venue. It reminds them of their youth when they took to the streets and sort of felt like they'd gotten something accomplished. But I don't understand how you keep going out and seeing the same old. It's like a social gathering almost in a strange way. I can't. I'm moved to go out to demonstrations. I mean, the last one I did was I can't even remember what we were doing it for.
What you were doing it for?
Yeah, we walked down here. What was that? Relatively recently, and I don't even remember. But for some reason, I was moved to do it.
Obviously, it really stuck with you.
The whole time I was thinking, this doesn't make any difference, but it feels good.
I mean, look, I'd say a few things about that. One is I'm for feeling good, and I'm for that feeling of community that can come from that. Like those are not trivial things or whatever. And I guess I mean I agree with you that it's very often hard to say like what any of these protests accomplish, and I'd be less than honest if as a reporter I didn't say there are times when I'm kind of like, Jesus, let's just get this over with already. I got to get back to the office and pay the freelancers or whatever it is I have to do. So, it is true that sometimes it's really hard to kind of pin down what gets accomplished. I just don't know. Here we are. This is the big crisis, right, in democracy right now. How do you get things to work? Because simply going and voting for people is an exercise in frustration. I think we all feel
but that's where it has to start.
It does.
And
but
our side's got to learn to. I mean,
I agree with
look
that.
at all the trouble with the Congress right now. It's because we've allowed the Republicans to win at the state levels and at the congressional levels, which all is tied in together.
Right, but I mean,
and our side only seems to be able to win a national election.
I agree with that, but you understand what I'm saying too. There are very often times where you feel like even Barack Obama, how many of the bankers who nearly cratered the entire U.S. economy have been prosecuted criminally, and the answer is zero.
Oh, that's what the march was.
Oh, was it? Okay, well there you go.
It was the Wall Street.
Yeah, so I mean that's so all of these things are difficult. There does seem to be, here we are in what's supposed to be the freest, most representative, blah 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 republic in the history of human existence, and yet there's this feeling, I think we all have it, and some of us feel it more intensely than others at various times, but we all have it, of this sort of disconnect that we don't, for all the rhetoric, we don't seem to really be able to have the leverage that we feel like we were promised in our 9th grade civics class.
Well, I think it demands more action from
right, but then
us.
Okay, but right, and I agree with you. But then it's kind of like, so what is the action? And I totally agree with you that the ballot is key
That's the.
But that only comes along once every couple of years, and so, what do we do now? This is an off-year election. You know what I mean? It's like so.
It's
so
those
how do we
off-year elections that kill us.
Well, not this one. I mean.
Not
November. No, November 2013 is not.
No, November.
Right, so so you see what I'm saying, right? No, I agree with you. Next year will be.
They all.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just. Anyway.
Nah.
It's just round up the usual suspects. Everybody assume their usual positions. Now we know the choreography. This group does this, that group does that. We yap, and we go right back. And it's just like gerbils are on a wheel. And I just frustrated, weary, and wondering.
Assume your usual positions, posit your usual assumptions. Yeah, it's all.
But we do. We all do. Right. We all know the dance, right? And I, especially since I've been, making my living in, out here on the, I suppose in some respects, the front lines and listening to it and yapping and what the hell has changed? This is okay, never mind.
We have a call.
Oh, dear Lord. Hello?
No, it's not the Lord.
Oh. How disappointing.
Hey, just buck up, you two. I mean, as bad as it seems, things are changing. I know I'm as frustrated as you are. I'm as fed up as you are. It's a little bit, I feel a little bit even more frustrated because the group that I hate the most is the demographic that I belong to.
White men. White men?
White middle-aged males. But things are changing. Things are getting better. We may have to wait for all the crackers to die out before things really change. But things are getting better.
No, I've said I'm on a death watch. I mean, I just want, I am really, all those old white people need to drop dead.
Well, unfortunately, I'm finding, unfortunately, that it's not just the old white people.
No, it's not.
A lot of the young, white, rural, suburban and rural, but things are changing. So, those rallies and things like that, so what if something doesn't happen immediately from them? But at least we can look across and see somebody and say, we're in this together.
Right.
Just hang in there.
Yeah.
We know that we're in it together, and things are getting better, and we're making it better.
I agree with that.
All right.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Let me add this too. Is the other thing about that as well is, and here's why I'm looking forward to this thing at noon, and what interested me on Sunday night, and what I'm looking forward to in an hour and change. It was different people. As much as I respect the decades long commitment of, say, Tim Stevens. Tim Stevens wasn't there on Sunday night, and it was these young women, young mothers and young working women who are out there in the street trying to figure out what to do next. And so, look, my staff will tell you, I'm a sucker for this stuff. When Occupy happened, I thought,
I know you were
here. Maybe this will be the thing. Maybe this will be the thing that, because we all do feel that the kind of sort of pro forma quality of an anti-war march or whatever. We all do kind of feel that sense of, haven't I done this before? So I'm a sucker for that. But in a way, I think I'd like to continue to be a sucker, because I think one of these days somebody's going to hit on that combination, and we won't know it until it happens, and we may not even know it after it starts happening for a little while. But I think we kind of have to keep our hearts and our minds open, at least to the possibility, because if we give up on the possibility,
well, that's true.
What do we have?
That's indeed true. Why I feel so
I'm waxing eloquent as fuck this morning.
You're spitting out cliches. God.
Yep.
Okay. So, I don't know. Why can't I? I always feel like a little child. I will till the day I die be like this little child that still has the same question. And it's sort of Rodney.
Where are the cookies?
No, it's sort of Rodney King's question.
Why can't we all just get along?
Why can't people just be nice to each other?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Ted Nugent. I saw this morning said something like, The black problem will be solved if people work really hard at being honest with each other. And I don't really know what he thinks the black problem is. I just saw this quote isolated. I'm sure it was some completely offensive bullshit and all that.
Horrific.
But you know what? The Wall Street problem would be solved if people would just work hard at being honest. All human problems would probably be solved, including those propagated on us by the NRA, where Ted Nugent sits as a board member, we should add.
Oh, dear Lord in heaven. Okay, so.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say anymore.
Well, let's move on to something else. You got a bunch of clips.
All right, I do not have a bunch of clips. I have very few.
No.
Don't look.
Okay.
Okay.
You're trying to preserve the surprise.
Oh, you had a little back and forth on Twitter today. This one did, Potter, with John Delano of
I was wondering whether anybody noticed that, yeah.
Are you kidding? Yeah. You got mad.
Oh, I wasn't too mad.
You were sorry.
I was a little
peeved, angry, annoyed. And let me just say, John Delano is an inveterate tweeter.
Yes.
And he has a large following, and he's a nice guy.
I have a lot of respect for him.
Just a good guy.
He's been around for a long time.
But it's so funny that you went after him today, because I got annoyed with one of his tweets in the same way yesterday. I can't remember what it was, but I thought, oh, John, stop just throwing out this crap and then saying, what do you think?
Yeah, do you agree?
Do you agree? And it's like he's just what he's doing. I understand. He's using Twitter in a different way. He's trying to hear different opinions and stir the pot a little bit, yes. I think.
Yeah.
And what he had done is...
somebody, and I don't know who it was originally, somebody had tweeted, how come all these black leaders don't get upset about the hundreds of black on black crimes that have been committed?
Right. Where's the outrage there?
Right. Where's the outrage? And so John
retweeted that.
And I responded in a flurry, as it were, of tweets. I don't think that's actually a good metaphor. What would a chorus of tweets, perhaps? In which I said, just because CNN doesn't give 24/7 coverage to the outrage doesn't mean the outrage isn't being expressed. 2, I'm often wondered when you hear this, and it's usually coming, when you hear complaints like that, it's usually coming from white conservatives.
Almost always.
How many of those folks aren't guilty of the same thing by getting more upset about, say, an isolated act of terrorism committed by some Islamist, but not getting as upset about an act of terror committed by a white person,
right
wing or not. Right. And the third thing I just said is, I'm not really sure you're advancing the discourse by retweeting
and he was, in his response to you was, I think I am, that you have to hear, we shut ourselves off from other points of
I guess I don't, maybe. I feel like my response to that is, yes, there's always that danger of siloing ourselves and not hearing what the other side is saying. The problem is I'm not sure that the best antidote to that is just picking up something from somebody else's silo, right? I mean, like these are just sort of like these right-wing canards, kind of, and you're just sort of going to toss them out there as like chum into the water to draw the sharks up and pretend that the resulting swirl of fins and bloody entrails is somehow constitutive of a responsible dialogue. I just don't think that's necessary.
Oh, it's too bad. That had so many characters in it that you couldn't have tweeted that.
Yeah, entrails alone is like 7.
Entrails in blood. I liked all that. Well, speaking of social media, Larry has asked us, can social media help fight racism? Yeah. I mean, it builds awareness. I mean, but here again, I think like-minded people talk to each other on Twitter.
Right.
And everywhere. Social media, I think, has created situations where people don't have to go beyond their comfort zone in any way, right?
Traditional media has done the same thing, though, right? Talk radio. We don't listen to Limbaugh. Limbaugh's audience doesn't really listen to us.
Right.
Now there are different cable channels. People who watch MSNBC don't watch CNN. And, in a way, it was ever thus. I think, can social media help fight racism? Sure. Can social media also be...
Exacerbate racism?
Also.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we always...
It's a neutral thing in that regard.
Usually, I'm always struck every time some new media technology comes around, there are the proponents who say this is going to change human nature. And really what it does is it just gives a different voice, a different platform to express the same selves we've probably always been for good and for bad. And so, I think, absolutely. Can social media outfight racism? Yes. But that doesn't mean that there's something intrinsically anti-racist about social media. That's what I would say. Can a hammer be used to prevent violence? Sure, if you build a little wall or something. Then.
Oh, well, you know what? Whatever. What did you miss your calling as a You sound like a preacher today. Are you looking for a pulpit?
If I had a hammer.
Jeez.
I'd hammer him. Well, clearly I'm going to be a preacher before I'm a vocalist. That's before a gospel singer anyway.
Oh, Lord. Look at that.
Oh, my gosh. There you go.
What we're going to do is take a little break here. I'm going to try. I don't know. I'm going to pull myself out of this downspin.
All right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I really am down.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe it's jet lag?
Could be.
It could be.
Hanging around with all those translucent people for
and
weeks.
Someone called me an old lady yesterday. Well, because
my hair
is turning gray. No, somebody actually But I had my hair up, and there was nothing but like sort of grayish hair showing. And he said, "Who's that old lady in the backyard?" And I realized it's a totally
Whose backyard were you in?
My own.
Why would somebody ask that about you? Like
what?
Who's that old lady in the backyard? It would be one thing if, like, you were in somebody else's backyard.
Well,
then I could see, like, maybe some questions.
All right. But, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
I am an old lady.
No, you're not that old.
I have a proof.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God, you know what they call you in Scotland? When you're
OAP?
old? No, let me think.
Old
to get it when you're going into a place and you have to pay admission.
Yeah.
How there's student
Seniors or whatever,
discount and adult. And then there's concessions.
You're a concession?
I'm a concession. And I said, as I was entering this place, I said, "What do you mean I'm a concession? What is that? What?" I said, "What? We call them senior citizens in the U.S."
Yeah.
I said, "Why would you call a person a concession?" And he said, "Because we are making a concession to your, I guess, advanced age."
You're feeble.
But that's what it says on the sign, concession. So I got really good at it. I got to saying, 2 students, 2 adults, 2 concessions.
That's kind of demeaning.
I think it is too, but it doesn't. To them, it doesn't sound demeaning
funny.
because the English language we don't share is very. I mean, it's really very different.
As a concession to your age, we will.
And so around here they just say senior citizen. I have a big thing that says senior citizen.
That sounds better, I think.
That's my bus pass.
Very nice. Look, you got on your little thing there. Very nice.
All right, we'll take a break.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
This week's Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for the Clarks, Bad Company, Billy Gardell, Frankie Valli, Adina Menzel, Brian Wilson, and Leonard Skinner. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone with GPS-enabled listings at citypapermobile.com.
Sewickley Med Spa is proud to announce the availability of the revolutionary Tri-Polar Apollo treatment in Pittsburgh. As seen on Dr. Oz, Tri-Polar Apollo will reduce wrinkles, tighten and firm skin on your face, neck, abdomen, and thighs. This is a non-surgical, pain-free lunchtime procedure. Call today for a free consultation, 412-259-8628, or online at sewickleymedspa.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay. I just showed. Maybe it'll show up?
Yeah, maybe. Give it a shot. Yeah, there. Actually, that looks pretty good.
Wait.
There you go.
This is
Hold it up straight, though. So this is a street sign. This is a street sign you saw in Scotland. There you go. At St. Andrews, did you say?
Yeah, this was in St. Andrews.
And for those listening to us, it's a sign that says, it's a caution sign, and it says elderly people, and then there's a little silhouettes.
Graphic.
Of like a little old man bent over his cane and a little old lady trailing along behind them. You can almost see them like expressing nostalgia for like the Glenn Miller Band or something. Like that is a hilarious elderly people.
That is the funniest sign I ever saw.
Don't run over these folks. They're
right.
ours.
It was like, so it's akin to deer crossing.
Right.
And, and then it had watch out. Essentially, it's watch out for these elderly people. I'm surprised it didn't say, instead of elderly people, concessions.
Please, right. Concede by not running over them, I guess. That's great.
Oh, man. Yeah. So.
Yes.
All right. Here's something else that's political, and I'm not all that interested, but I saw somebody.
Sounds great. I can't wait to discuss it.
This is local.
Uh-huh.
Local. And it has to do with the fact that Patrick Dowd, who's been on council for a long time, is leaving and going to take a job with a nonprofit.
Yep.
And he represents a district, Highland Park area.
Well, Lawrenceville, Friendship, portions of Bloomfield.
Yeah, right. And
Strip district.
And did you tweet something, or did somebody the other day about how this will test how progressive whoever gets that spot, Pittsburgh really has become? Tell us what's going on there and how it goes on and what's happening.
So as you said, Patrick Dowd is leaving. He's actually stepped down. He's no longer on council.
I just want to say that this could have a large impact on whether or not the new mayor, one William Peduto, will have maybe a majority on council, generally speaking, or not.
And it'll be an interesting test of how things are going. So there are at least two candidates who are in the mix right now. One is Tony Chaffee, who ran against Patrick Dowd in 2011 and lost.
Is that a male or female?
It's a guy, Tony. Tony's a woman. You're right. I apologize. So Tony Chaffee's running again. And the other candidate who's currently in the race, there are a couple other names being kicked around, is Deb Gross, who I've known for many years, was involved in Run Baby Run, which was an effort to get more female candidates to run, and now she's kind of walking the way she talked it, and has been long involved in the arts community and some community development issues. What's happened in just the past few days is Bill Peduto has endorsed Deb Gross, which is no surprise. They've long been allies, as have several other politicians, including Rich Fitzgerald, the county controller Chelsea Wagner, Frank Dermody, the Democratic leader in the state house, and some other folks. So there's a lot of people getting behind Deb Gross at this point, and it will be interesting. And we should say the Allegheny County Democratic Committee endorsement is this weekend.
But that doesn't ever matter.
It matters. It matters. It may matter in this case. This is a special because this will be a special election. It'll be on the November ballot, but there was no primary, obviously. So when the party endorses in a special election, the person who gets endorsed is the one person who gets to call themselves a Democrat. Everybody else has to run as an independent or whatever. Okay. In a primary, of course, everybody's a Democrat because you're running in the Democratic primary. But in this race,
so
only one person
primary,
gets it,
and
it'll be decided by the party.
Well, we'll have that. And are you thinking that the more, I don't know who controls now that Democratic Party thing, but that's probably the old guard.
Well, now this is the question. This is the question, and we actually hope to have. There's some things going on that are interesting, and I don't want to say too much about it because I'm hoping to have something up online today by the end of today about it. But this will be the question. Obviously, you've got the guy, and obviously Bill Peduto won without the endorsement. He didn't even seek it. But you've now got the presumptive next mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, and you've got the Allegheny County executive behind this candidate. So the question is, are they able to leverage these positions before they were kind of on the outside of the party machine, right?
Now
they were challenging the party machine. Right. The question now is are they now in a position to start working some of the levers of the very machine that they used to
take over the apparatus?
Yes, and in fact, next year, every 4 years the party has a reorganization, which is all the committee slots are up for election and people run for these. So it will be interesting to see who runs for those committees. interesting, I guess, is a relative term. It'll be interesting for those of us who are political junkies to see who runs for those positions, who they're allied with, and how that changes the endorsement process. For many of us, and I include myself in this category, for many years it was like, you almost, whoever you were supporting, they'd have to win despite the party endorsement. And now I think we're about to sort of enter into this.
Well, I think the party endorsement has in the last years been almost a curse.
Sometimes it has been.
It's like the county endorsement and the Post-Gazette editorial support.
Yeah.
It's a.
I would say the county endorsement really matters is in what, and I hope this doesn't sound too insulting, a sort of low information race.
Right.
So, for example, for judicial races is the best example.
Right.
If you are a judicial candidate who gets the endorsement of the party, that's actually better for you than if you get the Allegheny County Bar Association's highest ranking. So for those guys, it makes sense. But you're right. I mean, Patrick Dowd didn't win the endorsement in either of the races. So even if it were, and too, remember that district has been changing. As Lawrenceville has become kind of a place for hipsters to move into, and also the district's boundaries have changed as a result of the most recent redistricting. So it's now drawn in a way that there's more people. You're going to find more people who are sympathetic to Peduto,
I would think,
in this district now than there were, say, 4 years ago.
Okay, my only other. What was that other question I had?
Sorry, I talked so much I just blew it right out of here.
My other question is, so you've sort of described this Deb Gross as a progressive person, but you didn't characterize Tony's, what's his name,
Chaffee.
Yeah. Is he's not a Neanderthal?
No, I mean, Tony is a neighborhood. He's a Lawrenceville resident. His father is probably better known to most people because his father is currently a district magistrate in Lawrenceville, but was also not the founder, but the guy who really took this organization, Lawrenceville United, which is a really important neighborhood group,
great
and really sort of accelerated that and made that kind of a player. So he's steeped in it, and certainly he's got a constituency, and his family is well known there, and they've done stuff. That
it's not like it's not like you've got Deb Gross, the progressive, and you've got Tony Chaffee, some kind of knuckle dragging.
Right.
It's not true.
He's certainly a qualified candidate, I would say.
Okay,
absolutely.
But a little bit more establishmentarian.
Again, though, this is the whole thing. Okay. In a year, 6 months from now, what we call the establishment, may not be. And that to me, if I come away with anything from that primary night this past May, I spent that evening in Wagner's.
I was going to say, it's like Jim. I was thinking about establishment and then immediately thought of Jim Furlow. Because when I first came here, Jim Furlow was like this, wild-eyed firebrand.
Still kind of is sometimes.
Well, and then
you've never been yelled at by him.
I don't care. I'm sure I'm sure he'd like to now because I've really been on his back. I mean, in my statements.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I didn't think you were getting piggyback rides. Yeah, but I mean, so like the Wagner, you could almost feel it. Here was a room full of people who kind of thought they were the establishment. They were kind of the thing, and now they are not.
Yeah. Oh, PJ sent us a link from some Asian.
Looks like Korea.
Korea, and they've got elderly people, but their elderly people aren't bent over.
Yeah,
they're holding hands.
And it's a front-on look, and you can still see one of them's holding a little cane, it looks like.
Because the elderly people sign in Scotland assumes that as you get old, like you have osteoporosis in your back, and you're like this, and the man has a cane, and the woman is like hanging onto the man. What?
I think we should also note that in Korea, apparently, where old people are called silver zones. Silver zone, right?
That's
what that sign says. See,
I
they're
didn't
silver
even see
haired,
that.
I guess.
Silver zone.
Silver zone.
Okay.
See, there you go.
There we are.
You're not a concession.
I am a concession. And a concessionaire would sound better.
Yeah.
But it just flat out concession.
Yeah.
Which sort of like is a slap in the face.
It is, I think so.
I mean, just beyond belief.
Look.
Well, I want to express my outrage. I don't care if you're giving me 3 pounds off.
We didn't turn you into Soylent Green. What more do you want?
Oh, God.
Did you ever see that movie Logan's Run? We didn't put you in that carousel thing and spin you off into your constituent elements.
Hey.
Shut up! Get back in the line, Grandma!
God in heaven, my Lord. Okay, I want to ask you something. Jess alerted me to this yesterday.
Okay.
And because when I was out of town, UPMC came out with this policy that even on their breaks, if their employees, because I always cracked up because if you drive down Center Avenue, is it Center? That Shadyside Hospital is fronting on?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you drive down Center Avenue, like right in front of the hospital, I mean, you could see sometimes in the dead of winter, people, patients even, patients are still attached to those poles with something in their arm,
right,
outside on the street smoking.
Right.
And then you also see staff people out there in their scrub outfits, those horrible things they have to wear, and they're smoking. Yeah. Okay, so that now absolutely verboten, even off campus, as it were. If you go to lunch, you are not allowed to smoke. But then Jess told me that in reporting this story, or opining on it, I'm not sure which, the Post-Gazette acknowledged in their story that they have a flat-out rejection of any smoker for a position. They will not hire someone who smokes.
Yes.
That there is, in fact, they do a nicotine test. They do a nicotine test.
Yeah. Can you take Golden Seal to get that out of your system? Like,
I don't know what you can do.
All the potheads just like, dude, I know just how you feel.
So let me just tell you, Barack Obama would not pass that test, PG. You wouldn't hire him.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of crap is that? And I mean, if it's because of your health insurance costs, well, then do you say anybody with a body mass index over whatever, we're not hiring you? I mean, where
at some point, we are going to say that. That's my prediction.
But what about discrimination laws? I mean, you mean obese people will be able to be discriminated against in employment? Smokers are already clearly nobody. I'm surprised somebody hasn't.
Smokers aren't a
protected class,
right.
Obviously.
Right.
But it would. But if an employer is told you cannot not hire someone because they're pregnant.
Yes.
Or because the color of their skin, or because of their sexual orientation. But if they are overweight, it's okay. And if they smoke, what?
Well, I mean, we should say right now, at least in the state of Pennsylvania, you can choose not to hire somebody.
No, obviously. I mean, obviously.
So, and part of what goes, I mean, the difference in these things is smoking is a behavior. It's not like it's a behavior though. I'm not trying to single. I'm just saying under the law, when you have a protected class, what defines a protected class is one of the things that defines it is it has to be something that the people in question can't help
do anything about.
Yeah, right. So
there can't be like a thing where we don't hire, assholes. Because if you are an asshole, you usually don't know it and you can't do anything about it.
No, that's not true. I've chosen not to hire assholes in the past.
And that's within your legal rights as
sure, right. Yes.
Assholes, smokers.
I would not hire a smoker. I mean, I wouldn't balk at that. In fact, we probably should have one on staff just to keep us honest. There she goes. Jess does. Thank God. Once again. Also, Jess fulfills my dyed pink hair quota as well.
For those of you who haven't seen Jess lately.
And she's got tattoos, which not enough of us do on the editorial staff.
Just don't get a nose ring or something.
Andy has a nose ring, so
her boyfriend has a nose ring.
Her boyfriend has a nose ring, but so if you had one, and I mean, like they could hook when you're kissing or
that's
something.
That's sweet. Just like in that Disney film with the dogs and the spaghetti.
Oh.
Actually, now that I think about it, Jess is really the only person on staff who actually belongs on an alternative news week. The rest of us should be working for the Business Times or some shit.
Well, if you hadn't cut...
In fact, that's it. She's the editor from here on out. I'm done.
If you hadn't cut your ponytail off, you'd still be okay.
Yeah, but...
So, I just have to say that I do find the Post-Gazette refusing to hire smokers ludicrous.
Now, I will agree with you. Because I do. I legally speaking, they have the absolute right to do that. But I mean, are we really at a point?
The greatest reporters in history.
Exactly, it's the whole thing. You're smoking.
You're smoking. You're typing on your typewriter. You got a little ticket that says "press" coming out of your fedora band.
I mean, it's terrible.
Come on.
It's ridiculous.
What kind of crap is that?
Yeah.
A nicotine
It's just another step in this sort of, and it's a decades-long process of the sort of upper middle classification of
we don't
media.
Smoke, and we're not overweight, and so this is what it's that. You know what? It's that liberal elitist crap that gets thrown at us. Where guilty. I am so against this kind of crap.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's a shame, you know.
Well, it's like fascist. No, I don't want people controlling what I can do. If I'm qualified for a job, if I can do the job, what the hell difference does it make what I ingest, what I...
Plus, look, I've been in the Post-Gazette newsroom, and nicotine haze would spruce that place up somewhat.
Used to.
Yeah.
Nicotine haze.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for smokers. God, you guys, you're just reviled now. It's like the worst thing you can be.
Yeah.
And now you've been chased out of doors, but then you're being chased off the streets. You're chased out of arenas, and you know what? What happens is we all become extremely sensitive then to smoke.
Right.
Because we don't encounter it that much. And so if I'm standing at the bus stop and someone is smoking and the smoke is blowing my way, I'm like, ooh. When I used to sit on trains and planes and work in the newsroom, and it was just constant smoke.
Yeah.
Didn't even notice.
Yeah. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that before, but you're absolutely right.
So we all become very sensitive.
So that's interesting. So the less of it there is, the more conscious of it we become.
Indeed. And in fact, when somebody who's been smoking dutifully outside in an alley somewhere.
15 feet away from an entrance.
Yeah, right. When they come back in, we notice that they smell of smoke.
Yes.
When they get in the elevator with us, we sort of like recoil. It's just, I'm not saying that. Oh, God, I feel sorry for smokers. I feel so sorry for you guys. Boy, am I glad I got my smoking in back in the day.
Back when it was cheap.
Really cheap?
You look at them now, it's like...
It was 55 cents for a pack.
Yeah. Now it's like $7.
Well, you should see the share. I mean, you know, they're selling one cigarette to each other.
It's like prison out there. It's like prison.
No, it is. It becomes like scrip.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what?
And it gets more valuable all the time. In fact, that might be a safe play to invest in cigarette futures because you know that the taxes are going to raise the price of them by $2 inside of a year. So,
oh man, alive! Question for Chris.
These
coming
are
up.
Good.
The PG had an editorial yesterday about AG Kathleen Kane's decision not to defend the DOMA law against the ACLU's case. I found it most troubling that the Post-Gazette editorial board kept referring to her oath of office and that she was violating that oath, even though she is not. It would have been nice if the PG took that same stance with Metcalf, Corbett, Boy Luke, and every other male politician in the state. They all could be accused of the same action of violating their oaths of office. It, excuse me, chaps my ass?
You've never heard that expression before? Really? Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
Chaps my ass. That the PG would take this stance with the highest-ranking female politician in the state, since we have so few of them, Would Mr. Potter care to comment in his position as an editor of a newspaper on this topic? Did he find offense in the editorial board comments, or was it a proper newspaper response?
Did I find it offensive? I guess I didn't really...
You didn't even notice it.
No, I read it. I mean, I didn't think about the sort of highest female politician angle per se, but then I guess I'm a guy, so maybe I'd be less sensitive to that, as I've been told sometimes that I can be. Mm-hmm. I will say that I don't agree with that editorial, in part because it is not unprecedented for an attorney general to waive to basically delegate authority for defending the law.
Well, certainly it wasn't at the federal level. In fact, Holder, the Justice Department would not defend.
Yeah, and when people forget this, we've only had an elected attorney general, I think, since 1980. And that was done by the voters chose to do that. And when that happened, there was a law called the Commonwealth Attorneys Act, which specifically envisioned this kind of circumstance where an attorney general would, for whatever reason, decide either to delegate or simply to refuse to defend a given law. And that's why the governor has his Office of General Counsel, which can go and represent that, which is, of course, what's going to happen here.
Right.
So in that sense, was that oath of office stuff a little heavy-handed? And does Attorney General Kaine have a legitimate argument that she feels that she can't defend a law that she believes is unconstitutional? I think that's a bridge too far for me. I will say, and I've said it on this show before, that I am somewhat concerned about the precedent. Because I can very easily see it. Let's remember that it's pretty unusual. It's pretty unusual to have an attorney general on our side, right? Usually the folks who got elected to this job are kind of law and order types.
I'm going to lock him up. And I'm going to throw away the key.
Imagine a few years from now we have both a Republican governor and a Republican attorney general, and some law gets challenged. Say it's the hate crime statute, and somebody challenges that and says it's not fair. And the attorney general says, you know what? I think that's right. I think hate crimes are a violation of the First Amendment. So I'm not going to defend it. And the governor says, well, I agree. Then we're going to be in this sort of Proposition 8 situation. And so I'm somewhat concerned by that, by the precedent there, but oath of office and blah, blah, blah. Come on. She said when she ran, that she thought Defensive Marriage Act was a bad law. I guess you'd have to ask, do you really want somebody defending a law who doesn't believe in it?
Because they're not going to probably not do the best.
Yeah, the courts are an adversarial system, so you're supposed to have somebody who's out there fighting tooth and nail for it. I think in general,
the PG editorial board has gone off the rails. I don't know what's going on with them. We already have an extremely conservative editorial board in the other daily newspaper. And the Post-Gazette supposedly was supposed to be holding up a more liberal end. And they often, again, I'll give you their endorsement of Corbett, their endorsement of Wagner. They're not progressive.
Yeah. Well, I think on some of those issues, I do believe you're seeing the influence of the publisher.
Which didn't used to happen.
Yeah. Well, it happened, then it didn't happen for a while, and now it's happening.
It depends on which blockhead is running it at the time. The Block family has owned the paper, and the Block before this blockhead was a hands-off publisher, and he was loved.
Yes.
And this meddling little jerk.
Yep. I guess I know one paper I won't be working at.
Well, you didn't say anything.
No, I didn't.
I have to take a break.
J.R. Block is a principal.
Did I already take all my breaks?
No. We got to do another one.
Oh. Well, then I guess I shall.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Go to BergBargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. This week, great deals on Jerome Bettis Grill vouchers. Supplies are limited. BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BergBargains.com.
I can resist everything except temptation. Picked Theatre brings Oscar Wilde's classic play of good manners and bad behavior to the Charity Randall Theatre at the Stephen Foster Memorial in Oakland. But hurry, because the delights continue only until July 27th. If, like Oscar, you are easily satisfied with the best, call Pick Theatre at 412-561-6000 to book your tickets to this classic and charming summer temptation.
didn't know about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease until I took the wheel and lent my support to Drive for COPD. Help Americans take action against this leading cause of death by logging on to driveforcopd.org to learn more. I'm Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson, and I drive for COPD.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
You know, until that ad, I didn't realize that COPD was kind of like a smooth jazz kind of thing.
Well, you do. I personally...
Doesn't sound so bad.
No. Shouldn't be.
No, I know.
Fun.
Well, yeah, I'll get it next week.
Okay. Are you aware that... Oops. Oh. Are you aware that...
No. What is that? The decline in male fertility? No.
Yeah, you guys, and I'm just talking to you, is whether you know it or not, your sperm count ain't what your dad's was.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know. There's a lot of people trying to understand. Sperm count.
Look where that got him. Really? Is there a cause there for that? So it's a generational thing.
A study in France found the average sperm count of 35-year-old men.
Just in France?
No. It's all over. Decreased more than 30%. I mean, it's just plummeting from in 25 years.
Huh. So
scientists are puzzling over whether or not this is a crisis. What is going on? What is causing it? A prominent study in the 90s suggested that sperm count has just decreased by half over the last half century. If that keeps up...
Yeah, I wonder if it's...
What do you think? What first comes to mind?
Well, and this may just reflect the fact that one of my staff did a story about this a few years ago. Crap. No, I can't remember. The estrogen, stuff, what was it? I'm embarrassed. Hormone blockers or whatever that a lot of those plastics and stuff.
Bisphenol.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah, that stuff. That would just be my initial.
That's definitely one of the culprits.
Yeah.
It's one of the culprits. They think exposure to pesticides, endocrine disrupting.
That's it. Endocrine disruptors. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Endocrine disrupting chemicals and bisphenol A.
Yes.
And other stuff.
As it's known to scientists.
Well, fatty foods.
Yeah.
Hot water.
Oh, sure.
Frequent
that would be,
frequent hot baths, which increase scrotal temperature, are known to kill sperm.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's if you're trying to get pregnant, that's one of the things they kind of tell you about. Stay out of hot water. Well, if I were going to stay out of hot water, would I be getting pregnant? I'd be trying to get pregnant in the first place. Yeah.
Boxers, not briefs. Also, don't ride a bike. All of those things, which I don't know. And get this, shampoo.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Phthalates found in plastic bottles, and there's endocrine disruptors.
Yeah, that's the phrase I was going for, right? Yeah.
Okay, and also smoking, and sedentary jobs, sitting. Mm-mm. So that's what's happening. So the men are just gonna you're. Oh,
well. Hey. It worked the one time. That's all I need to worry about.
That's it? You quit?
I'm done. This is just having a 2-year-old. Nothing cures your desire for...
Well, see, right then you're not the man your father was. He had 2.
Yeah. Well,
kind of.
I'd probably not really like to get into this on the air, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
So I saw a headline somewhere today that it was like one of those ones that, you read it every year. The same headline appears right around the same time. And I have to admit, I get so angry every time I see it. But here it is. Pitt raises tuition.
Yep. Yeah, how much?
I don't know.
Well, no. A 2% raise is one thing. A 7% raise is
our supposedly higher education system is as screwed up a system as our healthcare.
Yeah. Which is like two pretty big things.
Yeah.
What you know.
Education and health, right.
Your mind and your body. That's pretty much what you got.
It is insane. Yeah. I still haven't gotten over, what was this, about 2-3 months ago, where they published the highest paid people at Pitt.
Yeah.
And 4 of the top 5 were coaches.
Yeah.
3 of them, I think the top 3, were all head football coaches. The highest paid people at Pitt are...
And they're not very good.
No, and 2 of them, Dave Wanstead is still paid more, and he's not even working for him anymore. Yeah. And then that other creep who came by and then disappeared. They are still... Who is negotiating the contracts over there?
Steve Peterson.
Steve Peterson should be shot. I mean, excuse me, I even just mean... What kind of an idiot are you? How do you still have your job if you're paying over $5 million, $10 million a year to 3 people, 2 of whom aren't even there?
Yeah.
And I imagine they're going to pay for it. Well, how do you have faith? And then they raise tuition? Out.
Oh, yeah. And that to me is just kind of the tip of the...
How is Steve Peterson still there?
I don't know. I mean, he negotiated their transfer from the Big East to the ACC, and there was all that success with the basketball program for a few years, certainly. And so,
And we're paying 3 head football coaches.
The argument, and I don't know if it applies to Pitt, the argument is that football as a program generates, even with those ridiculous salaries and the other expenditures, the facilities and all that other stuff, that it generates more revenue that gets plowed into other programs.
When did it all have to do with... They've totally lost sight of their mission.
Yeah.
Totally lost sight, just like UPMC has lost sight of its mission. What is with these huge institutions?
Well, everybody...
They all just act like crazed corporations.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the athletics is just sort of the tip of the iceberg, though. I mean, the whole economics of the thing is just really deeply problematic. It'll be very, obviously having a 2-year-old, you think about, how am I going to pay for college? And, there's a chance the whole thing could crater by the time he's old enough to go. I don't know how some of these long-term trends are really sustainable. The amount of debt that kids are taking on now is growing and growing and growing. And, we should disclose that people who get bachelor's degrees have better economic outcomes than people who get da-da-da-da-da.
But not if they have $75,000 in debt.
And so at some point, the risk-reward there, the ROI just starts to crater for you.
It's
and at some point, and people realize that, and then what happens? And I think, that to me is kind of like one of those questions that Pittsburgh needs to think about. Is CMU is always going to be okay. A school like that is always going to be okay. But but if you're a university that's out there, a private, smaller school, if you're not kind of on the top of your game 15, 20 years from now, where are you? Are you going to be in the game at all? And I don't know that anybody around here is really thinking about it. It's sort of a big issue. I've thought about writing about it, but it's hard to get your head around some of these things. They're just so big.
What do we think? Eds and meds, they'll be here forever.
Eds and meds, yeah. Of course
we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah. That thinking got us into the steel industry.
Exactly did.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing lasts forever. And this gravy train they think they're on right now, they're destroying. It's just all right.
Now you've got a child in school. How's paying for that working? Is that a financial issue for you? Or?
No, because I had I saved.
Yeah. Okay. Good for you. Yeah. Can I have a few bucks?
I'm working off his, it's all there. Although it's almost, I told him we're nearing, we've been paying out of that little pot I had. Yeah. He's got 1 year left.
Yeah.
And we'll see. Okay, Dave writes, every guy I know who smoked pot during the time it happened
There was just the one time when pot happened.
What does that mean?
I thought it was still good. Maybe when it was,
The time what happened? I think
the time, when pot was...
No, I think by the time they had intercourse that resulted in
pregnancy. I see. Had girls.
Every guy I know smoked pot during the time it happened. Happened. The procreation. Had girls.
Whoa.
The guys who didn't smoke pot had boys. Every single one. Oh, no, wait. This applies to first kids only. If you've really done this, I don't think this would pass scientific scrutiny, David. Out of 20-some people I knew back in the day, today there are 16 girls, all their dads smoke pot, and 6 boys, none of their dads smoke pot.
None of them smoke pot. I have a theory, but it's long and gross and makes no sense. David has a theory, but it's long and gross and makes no sense. He came up with a theory while he was smoking pot, so there you go.
I'm trying to think of the people I know. It just has to do with the fathers, not the mothers. But
that's interesting, right?
Well, I didn't actually... Of
course, it's the father. It's the sperm cell that determines sex. So.
But smoking pot is one of the things.
Oh, yeah, really? Okay, there you go.
I left it out because I love marijuana and I don't want to taint it with yet another reason why it should be banned.
It should only be smoked by people of a certain age.
Yes, who can't procreate anyway, so what difference does it make? They're just concessions.
That's one of the concessions.
Yeah, that's right. Let them smoke pot.
That's what we call it on the street. You guys want a dime bag of concession? At the Shady Oaks retirement home.
Yeah, right. I love
out
it.
back of the cabanas.
Yeah.
You guys want a concession?
Well,
this is Humboldt County concession.
But you think that won't be happening?
Probably.
Well, sure.
Yeah, when you get there.
It was my fantasy in the 60s that we'd all grow old and we'd be sitting in rocking chairs on a front porch.
Baked out
So
your minds.
I'd be able to smoke hot. And I think it was, we were all thinking, oh, yeah, right, that'll be. Well, it will be. I might have to leave this godforsaken state, but it's okay. It does say marijuana. Young men's marijuana usage is linked to decreased sperm count.
If you really wanted to dissuade smoking, you said, because nicotine was another one, right? You said cigarettes were another factor before, right?
Cigarette smoking in mothers.
Oh, just in mothers, okay.
Because it says here, marijuana use in young men looks like it is linked, but not cigarettes and not alcohol.
Is that right? I'll be dipped.
Maternal smoking, unhealthy behaviors during pregnancy can hurt.
Well, sure.
Oh, it's mothers who smoke can beget sons who have low sperm count.
Ah, there you go. Amazing. I mean, we don't know the first thing, do we?
Aren't you dying to hear Dave's long, gross, and
maybe
senseless,
next week.
Theory?
Yeah, you can email it.
You
can censor it.
Come on, you can email it. I would definitely do that. Oh my God!
It's over. I'm done.
It's over.
No, this was fun in a weird sort of way. All right, I'll see. Oh, will you be there at noon? Are you going to the thing? Okay. Well, I'll be there, and if anybody else is.
At noon, yeah. No,
I'll be the sweaty guy.
Yeah, you and 100 others.
Yeah. Or you could follow my Twitter account.
That's what I'll do.
C Potter PGH. That's me on Twitter.
C Potter at
PGH. No, just CPOTTER PGH. Yeah, at C Potter.
At C Potter PGH. He's very good at it. Getting better.
Thank you.
I'm not. I don't quite know how to do it.
Oh, you do fine.
No, I don't. Okay.
All right.
It's
done.
over, as they said. Somebody
Play
said
the
it's
music.
over. It's over.
Do it now. Good.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.